Hey up duck, you're 8, and today I'm going to be plasterboarding the inside of our log cabin, or glorified shed as a lot of people have called it online. Thank you very much for your positive comments right there. Now it is a job that any DIY can do, and it can save you hundreds if not thousands of pounds. It's relatively easy, you don't need very much experience. All you're going to need is some very basic and simple tools, because if you're a plasterer, that's all you are, basic and simple. I joke and jest. Let's have a look at what you're going to need. Levels come in handy for getting things level, but also you can use them as a straight edge for when you need to cut your plasterboard. A saw, maybe, for when you want to cut your plasterboard, depending on how you want to cut it and what you feel safe using. A plasterboard saw, which is great for getting around little nooks and crannies and when you want to cut out holes for your wiring. A drill, if you need to drill any holes in your plasterboard to get your wiring through. An impact drill with a Phillips in, that is going to be for your drywall screws. A Stanley knife for cutting your plasterboard, and some penny sills for marking your plasterboards. That's all you're going to need. One thing you might want to do first is mark out where your studs are going to finish. Now you can do this on the floor and you can do this on the ceiling, or you could write it down on a piece of paper, take all the measurements just in case, because the last thing you want to be doing is punching holes all the way in your plasterboard trying to find that stud. So my plasterboard is going to finish up to that wall just up there, so that's one of the studs. All you can do is find the center, measure it if you want to, or just mark on the floor where the center is, going along and just marking all the centers of your studs so you know where they are. Don't mark the edges, mark the centers. So when you come to the end of your plasterboard, that's where you want the board to finish, in the center of a stud. You're probably wondering why I'm stood here with wood in my hand. Well, I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using this piece of wood for right now. So you can also use some plasterboard offcuts if you've already made the start cutting your boards, or you can use a piece of wood like this. What you need to do, or what it's advised to do, is to leave a gap at the bottom of your floor to your plasterboard. So if I chuck that down there, which is probably 10-15 mil, that's going to leave a gap between the floor and the plasterboard. You're probably wondering, and you're probably thinking to yourself, why do I need to leave a gap? Well, let's play out a scenario for you. You come in one night from a pub, you're absolutely wasted, and you have no idea where you are, you're that bladdered. You're completely disorientated, and you're stumbling around in the middle at night looking for the bathroom, and you think you've found the bathroom, but you've not. All you've found is the corner of your room. You get your gentleman's sausage out. You proceed to pee all over the floor. Now, if you've not got a gap, your plasterboard's going to be touching the floor, isn't it? And what will happen? All that piss will soak into that plasterboard and go all the way up it and ruin your plasterboard. Now, it's not just for wee, any sort of moisture or water will do the same. So you want to leave a gap so the water, providing there's not like a foot, is not going to soak up into your boards and ruin it, and then ruin the plaster that you've put on it. Okay, 2020 mils, or 202 centimeters, or 79.5 inches. You've got your measurement as to how high you need it. Hopefully, if you're just putting it in a standard room, they'll just go straight up and you've not got to cut anything off the height of your boards. Unfortunately, I don't fall into that category. So let's cut these plasterboards. So all you want to do, get your measure, find out where you want to cut it, mark it out on your boards at either end, is get the old Gary Neville. Now what you can do here, you can either mark the board with your pencil all the way along, just like that, which is then going to leave you a pencil line, or you can just get the distance you need and score it with your knife. That's the pencil line. Now that is just reference for you when you're going along with your knife. Push down on your straight edge, get your knife, and all you're going to do is follow along your pencil line, and all you're doing is scoring that. You've not got to push your knife blade all the way through, and that is it. There's a few different techniques as to how you want to break it. You could put a piece of wood on the floor underneath it. You could just pop it like that. You can use your knees, you could use your hands, you could use your head if you really wanted to, but you'll find your way of doing it. So as soon as you've done it a few times, you'll be fine. You'll have your little way of doing it, won't you? So let's get this one popped. So the method I'm going to use is my knee. That's the score line just there. That's the end of my plasterboard just there. So I'm going to put my knee on the opposite side and then just pull it and pop it, and it'll snap all the way along the line what we've scored. So my knee's on the opposite side of the line, on the longest side of the board. My hands on the shorter side, and all I'm going to do is just pop the board. There you go, that's it, it's done, it's gone. The board has followed that line all the way to the bottom that I marked and scored out. That's the opposite side. All we're going to do now is run his knife all the way up along there, cut that other side of the paper, and then it's done. Get your blade out like that, start at the bottom, just under there, and follow the paper line all the way to the top of the board like that, and then separate it. That is how easy it is to cut plasterboard. So I've got my board, I've stood it up. Because we're running a light on either side of this building, so one there and one there, I've got to put a hole in here to feed that light through, or feed the cable through, so it's not hidden behind the boards. Because the last thing you want to do is to get your plasterboard on and then forget, and you're like, oh shit, I've got to put wiring through. So then you're going to have to take it all off, you're then going to have to pull it through, and then you monumental amount of f***ing about. Measured my distance from there, effectively a square. I've then transferred that onto my boards, as you can see. I'm just going to drill a hole in there so then I can feed that cable through that hole. Once again, plasterboard is super easy to drill through. Immature human being. The board is in position. That's my cable coming through. You might want to just put a little loop in that just so it can't go back in on itself. The next thing you want to do is run some screws in. Down that edge, and then find your studs. But like I did earlier, I marked along the floor, and if you've marked along the ceiling, all you got to do then is just follow them lines. You could even mark it out on your plasterboard where the studs are going to finish if you wanted to, just to make it easier for yourself. Screw it in, and then that's your first one on. And it's just a case of repeating it all the way around your room. It is that easy. You've not got to go crazy with your screws. Probably one every foot, every 2 foot, whichever you feel comfortable with. If you're going on a ceiling, I go one every foot. If you're going in a wall like this, one every 2 foot. You don't need a lot because your level, if your walls are level, your board's going to be level, then it's just going to more or less stand up on its own as that one is just now. And all you got to do is just screw that in nice and steady. You're not got to go crazy. And then that is nice and flush. So what you want to try and avoid is screwing in at different angles. So when your screws in, you don't want it protruding, anything like that, because whoever comes to skim it, if you're doing it, they're just going to catch it with a trowel. You don't want it too far inside, because then, same again, if you have something like that, that's just going to be a real pain in the arse for whoever's plastering it. It just makes it difficult. There's no need to do it. So what you want it nice and flush when you're putting your screws in. And that's it basically for your screws. Same again, it's another easy, simple process any DIYer can do. So let's get all these put in. I've come to my corner section, as you can see just there. Now, it's not a full sheet. So what I've got to do, I've got to cut one down into size. It is the exact same principles as when you're cutting it widthways earlier to get that side size board to go into there. You're just doing it lengthways. And all you're going to do is just pop it. Fold the board over as much as you can. Just swallow the crease in the paper. That's it, done. So now I've cut it lengthways, I've just got to cut it widthways and do the same again to find my wire. And then that is that full back wall done in probably 10-15 minutes. So that is it, the back wall is done. The rest of the building is the exact same process, so you don't need to see me doing that. So regardless of your DIY ability, I think you could do it. I think anybody can do it. It's not hard. All you got to do is plan things out, know where your joists are, mark them out if you need to, so you know you're going to screw into those joists, all the time without missing any. Take your time, be careful, jot things down, plan things in your head if you're that way inclined, and you'll be fine. There's no need to get an external company, a plasterer in, a labourer in to do this when you could do it yourself. You could save yourself hundreds if not thousands of pounds in this process. I'm a DIY myself. I'm doing it myself. It's not hard. If I can do it, you can do it. So on that note, I'll see you later. Ta-da, bye-bye. Arrivederci. 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 Bon voyage.